Look, I know we all trying to get our holiday photos off right now, me included. We got the snow, the lights, the trees, all the basics, but you can level that up at Sweet Home Chicago. That's the gingerbread-inspired holiday destination at the shops at Northbridge. Among the Instagram-worthy pieces, they got a full black and white house by 2D World. Seriously, it's gonna make you feel like you in a comic book, plus an entire Chicago-inspired gingerbread village. And you know they got drinks, apps, a DJ, and even retailer deals for your holiday shopping. Check it out at the shops at Northbridge on the Mag Mile, and you can learn more at the shopsatnorthbridge.com/Sweet Home Chicago. You don't want to miss one of Chicago's favorite holiday traditions this year, Zoo Lights at Lincoln Park Zoo, presented by Invesco QQQ and ComEd. You can wander through over 3 million lights and glowing displays, grab a friend and hop on the Ferris wheel, or, just stroll along with a hot cocoa or 2 or 3 and take it all in. Plus, they've got special events like decorating Christmas cookies. You can pop by when Mrs. Claus is there or bring the entire family for an elf movie night. Zoo Lights at Lincoln Park Zoo open now through January 4th. Learn more and get tickets at lpzoo.org/zoolights. Today on CityCast Chicago, why is the family of Officer Krista Rivera suing the city? Plus, Chicago getting a new kind of baseball league, and we've got more for the naughty or nice list. It's Tuesday, December 16th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. We've got executive producer Simone Alisea in the building. How you feeling, my friend? How was your weekend?
I am doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. We handled the Browns in sub-zero weather. We are back to Packers versus Bears week, and I think we'll have a different outcome. And they promising 30, 40 degree days this week. And so, my go-to is I can't complain, which is already a lie. But, I feel like I got a few less complaints today.
I think we have things to look forward to, it seems like. So
100%.
At least there's that.
One story that came down the wire at the end of the week, Simone, the minute I saw it, I immediately sent it to your inbox and was like, have you seen these updates in the story around Officer Krista Rivera, who people may not remember was shot and killed by her partner during what the department is calling a foot chase into a building on the South Side. But we had questions when that story broke originally, and even more questions after what we learned on Friday. Simone, kind of catch us up here. Why is her family suing the city of Chicago?
Right. So this happened in June, and the way it goes is that Crystal Rivera and her partner, her police partner, Officer Carlos Baker, they were patrolling. They stopped a person they thought was armed, who then ran. Officers chased them. And what police and prosecutors have said is that they chased that person into an apartment building. When they got into the apartment building, a second person was there with a gun. Rivera kept running, but Baker fired, and ended up striking Rivera in the back. That wound ended up killing her.
Fired one single shot, correct?
One single shot. Fired one single shot. That wound ended up killing her. She is shot. Apparently Baker, continues the chase, and, more officers arrived at the scene, attempted to transport her on their own. And that vehicle crashed and caught on fire. She was eventually taken to another hospital, but eventually succumbed to her wounds. And so that was sort of what was playing out. There are two people who have been those two people who were being chased and who allegedly had the gun. Those people were charged with armed violence, illegal firearm possession.
And then in all of the reports that you read, even in these kind of latest updates, was that, everyone's sort of sticking to the story that this was an accidental shooting. But these details that came out in Friday's reports, I think in some ways really throw that narrative into question.
Yeah, this is, I think, what is sort of the biggest thing is Rivera's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit. This is the latest. And in that wrongful death lawsuit, allege some pretty explosive things here about Baker and Rivera's relationship, not just their working relationship, but alleging not only did they have a romantic relationship and a romantic relationship that had been on and off for a while, but also that Rivera had ended the relationship, was planning because, according to the lawsuit, Baker had a longtime live-in girlfriend that Rivera had not been aware of. And once she was made aware of it, broke it off and was planning to confront that girlfriend. This happens shortly before the chase and the shooting, and that the lawsuit alleges that the day before this shooting, that Baker went to Rivera's home to confront her about this. And what is so remarkable about this lawsuit is, like, I actually don't think the narrative, the friendly fire shooting narrative, if you don't know other context, is that hard to believe, right? I think these are both young officers in the sense they haven't been on the force for very long, just a few years, both of them. Prosecutors say they have surveillance footage of somebody pointing a gun at officers. I think we know that the chase happened. I think, it is not out of the realm of possibility to believe that one officer chooses to move forward. Now you're just in line. Another officer pulls out a gun. How many stories have we heard about of an officer pulling out a gun in a panic or when they shouldn't have, right? And firing off. And so and I don't think that narrative casts Rivera in any kind of negative light, right? And the department, by all accounts, came out and spoke very highly of Rivera after her death.
In this lawsuit, they also allege that the department was aware of this relationship, was aware of this turmoil, and that Rivera had come to them and asked to be taken off of this task force or this detail.
That is what is so kind of wild about this is, like, you can imagine that if the department were giving us all the information and that sort of the narrative that they laid out is true, kind of why would the family be why is this the story that they would kind of go with as to, why this was a wrongful death, right? Why come out with this sort of the romance? And again, they allege that the lawsuit is against not only Baker himself, but the department as well, neither of whom, has offered any comment to this. Not that unusual. The department doesn't comment on pending litigation. But yeah, alleging that the department essentially knew about the romantic relationship, that Rivera had, asked to be taken off this tactical unit, and that, that they still ended up together, and again, indeed ended up being partners together. On top of that, we also have additional context about Baker and his history,
which the department is fully aware of because they've taken action in relation to them.
Yes. Right now, the investigation, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, the investigation into Rivera's death is still open. They're the agency that investigates every use of force, right? Anytime an officer shoots a gun, they investigate it, right? That's one of the major things they do. Baker, however, as I said, has only been on the force since 2021, not that long, and had more than a dozen misconduct complaints, including complaints that I think demonstrate a bit of a pattern here
of intimidation and violence against women.
Against women, exactly. One of his early ones when he was a probationary officer, which is the Sun-Times and Illinois Answers Project pointed out when they first kind of reported these complaints. When you're a probationary officer, it's a little easier to fire you because you're on, right? You haven't fully joined the union yet. It's a little bit easier. One of those complaints included flashing a gun at a woman that he had met online while she was on a date with another man. The case that finally got him stripped of police powers was, which happened in August, was that another female officer, yet a different female officer, accused him of attacking her at a bar and that he tried to use his position as an officer to get surveillance video of the incident. His lawyer says he didn't do either of those things, that, there's going to be a full investigation of that. But it was egregious enough that he was stripped of his police powers, even as this other investigation into his partner's death is ongoing. And so when you take sort of that context into account, along with, these allegations in this new lawsuit, I think it paints a picture of, it certainly paints a picture of who this officer is, but it brings up any number of questions of what was the department doing? Where were they on this? Why, and again, that was the other thing in the Illinois Answers Project and Sun Times report that I found interesting is when I talk about this more than dozen misconduct complaints, that is in fact more than usual. That is more complaints than it would be typical to have in that amount of time as an officer.
Yeah, and according to the Illinois Answers Project, a report they put out in August, the Chicago police reported to the Department of Labor that she had been gunned down by a barricaded suspect. And at the time, they had not corrected that. And so...
That Rivera had been shot by a barricaded suspect. And so there's also a paper trail here where they were not completely forthcoming that Baker was the one who fired. Or at best had wrong information.
Yeah. And so, yeah, this is yet another one of those stories that gets filed in line with this sort of code of silence inside of the police department and this culture of sort of protecting their own, or at the least, the culture of giving the benefit of the doubt to police officers time and time again, and not simply giving them second chances and third chances, but a dozen plus chances. The fact that he was not stripped of his police power as the investigation was ongoing into the shooting of his partner, but for an incident just a couple months later that also involved violence against women, which, again, who knows that if his name wasn't already in the spotlight from the shooting, if that incident would have been taken up with the same amount of seriousness.
Or if it hadn't come out in the paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? These additional complaints that we're talking about here, again, came out through reporting, came out in the public. And I think that's the other thing about this, Jacoby, is like, right, we've spent a lot of time on this show talking about how racism pervades in the Chicago Police Department, right? And across Chicago. But we haven't spent as much time talking about sexism and specifically violence against women. And I think this is, it's certainly not, it's not something that's part of the consent decree, for example. I don't think it is named necessarily as explicitly as being sort of a problem in the department, but I will be really curious to see how this lawsuit plays out, particularly if any of it plays out in court, right? A wrongful death suit like this, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be, a settlement, yet another settlement that taxpayers will have to foot the bill for. Who knows if it's included in our settlement budget.
I mean, at this exact time, the Sun-Times is reporting about former Detective Marco Torres, who was stripped of his police powers in the last 18 months and is facing charges against intimidating and threatening a fellow female officer, as well as harassing a witness in a case against him. And he's got at least 22 complaints of domestic abuse and another for alleged sexual misconduct. And again, this was somebody who was allowed to remain on the force for years with these complaints. And so, this is a history of a department that, in these two cases in particular, don't even go as far to protect their own.
Right. That's the thing. This is their own people, supposedly. These are the people on their side.
We've talked with investigators before about how victims of domestic abuse, sexual assault, how women, femmes don't feel supported, believed, assisted by police officers when they come forward, and we have plenty of cases of women in the department who feel the exact same way. You already know what time of year it is. Toy soldiers, sugar plums, and a rat king. the Joffrey Ballet's The Nutcracker is making its way back from December 5th through the 28th at Lyric Opera House. Joffrey's Nutcracker is one of Chicago's most beloved holiday traditions. Join Marie and her Nutcracker Prince on a fantastical adventure in Tony Award-winning Christopher Wheeldon's kaleidoscope reimagining set amidst the spectacle of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Marie awakes one Christmas Eve to be swept away by a flurry of snowflakes to the dreamlike fairgrounds of the World's Columbian Exposition, and she embarks on a magical adventure you'll never forget. Seriously, the trio calls it unforgettable. Tickets for the Nutcracker are on sale now at joffrey.org. As the end of the year fast approaches, the thing I find myself holding on to the tightest are the memories with family and friends. More specifically, the pictures and videos of those memories, from weddings to family reunions to concerts to just nights hanging out in the backyard. And if you like me and you want to share the gift of those moments this holiday season, then consider grabbing yourself an Aura frame. It's basically a digital picture frame where you can upload hundreds of photos and videos directly from your phone. And the best part is it can be customized for different people with different albums and memories to choose from. So it's one gift that can feel extra special no matter who you grab it for, and you can upload the pictures and videos before they ever open it. Visit auraframes.com now to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames when you use my promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, and the promo code is CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. You can support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. One of my highlights of 2025 was meeting up with a group of some of my Bradley Speech alums, some of my old coaches, to go see the Savannah Bananas, who probably had the best attended games at Sox Park this entire year when they sold out an exhibition. I think this was back in August.
So peak baseball season.
Yeah, right. And so it looks like that momentum is carrying over because, Simone, a new co-ed baseball entertainment league/team is coming to Chicago and the broader Midwest. Are you looking forward to the Chicago Snowballs?
I'm looking forward to the video content it produces that will inevitably end up on my feed. So yeah, the Chicago Snowballs are the new, they're calling it Baseball-tainment. Fine, that's what we're calling it. And it's interesting because you caught this, and it sort of in all of their material, it is, Savannah Banana inspired, Harlem Globetrotters inspired, but it does appear to be an entirely kind of separate thing, its own entertainment league. And they're going to be hosting auditions. That's right, an audition for a sports team in January, that first week of January. So right off of the holiday here. And what they're looking for, they say, is like, in addition to people who play baseball, men and women who play baseball, they are looking for kind of any talent, it sounds like. So the example they give is like, was it the pitcher who also plays the tuba, right? And so, I think the Bananas, as I understand, and that whole league of, they play banana ball, right? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
The Banana Ball League, which is like all kind of owned by the same people, right? It's like its own little kind of business there. As far as I'm aware, they have dancing, and they have like the mascots and like the games, right?
And they got people on stilts.
Oh, they do. Okay.
They do. They got people on stilts. I can't remember. There may have been some instruments involved. Like it was a lot going on, and it was a rainy day. It was a lot going on.
So yeah, if you've got circus skills, if you're a musician, I don't know what I would like. What's the weirdest thing I could possibly watch a baseball player do that's not playing baseball?
I guess that's what it's for. But they market themselves not only inspired by, but hoping to attract some of the exact same people who auditioned for the Bananas. Or recently there was the announcement of the Women's Professional Baseball League. They held tryouts earlier this year. There was a draft in November. They are only going to play in a few cities, but interestingly enough, all of their games are going to take place across about 2 months in Springfield.
In our Springfield, Illinois.
And our Springfield, yeah. But to have like a LA, San Francisco, New York team, and it's like, y'all gonna play in Springfield. But there was like people who didn't make those leagues, people who maybe didn't realize they could have auditioned for those leagues are welcome to come try out. Yeah, I have no idea how far and wide their talent attraction pool is going to be.
A lot of talented people in Chicago. I don't know if they also play baseball, but there are a lot of talented people.
They're going to do improv in the 6th inning. I have no idea.
The 7th inning improv stretch.
It's also not clear from this announcement, like how many other teams there'll be. They are planning to make their debut up in Lakeview at Kerrywood Field in May. And so I assume they're going to audition people for the main team and then also for
like a rival team.
Yeah, for the rival team they play against. But, you know, in recent years, we've had a few alternative leagues pop up. Like you got the Big Three, which is like a 3-on-3 basketball league of mostly old pro players. Chicago has a team, the Triplets, I believe, Unrivaled, which is going to start playing in about a month or so, which is filled with some professionals from across the WNBA and international women's basketball. And then now you got the Bananas, the Snowballs. Yeah, a lot of options, I suppose. And so it seems like this market is like right for like I'm seeing more online one-on-one basketball leagues popping up.
I think with these like alternative, and again, I almost don't even think of them as like an alternative to baseball. Like it's almost like a completely different thing. But I do wonder, like, you know, they're going to be in Lakeview, debuting in May. Like, are there people who maybe like would have taken their kids to Wrigley who maybe opt for a cheaper baseball-tainment ticket, snowball ticket instead? I don't know. I don't know how much crossover there is, frankly, actually, between the audience of people who pay money to see professional baseball. You know, I think the people who like, you know, the MLB, they like the slow pitch. Although a lot of people like the pitch clock, right? So you know, I don't know.
Hey, I think anything that stands against the monopoly and cartels that is professional sports leagues.
You say that now, but what about when they start asking the state for money to build a stadium, Jacoby?
That's so real. It's so unlikely, but it's so real. It's so real, right? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
You know what I'm saying? Like
anything that is another option, not only for former and current players, I'm down for it. Again, anything that rivals the monopoly of the NFL, NBA.
See, what they should do is they should have done like a semi-professional 16-inch softball-tainment league.
Softball is entertaining enough.
But that's what I'm saying. The step isn't so high. It would be, and you just like, and get a couple of like grizzled Chicagoans to announce it, you know? Like, I think just double down on the Chicago-ness of it. I think that's, instead of trying to copy what Savannah's doing, I think just like double down on the locality of it. But I'm always going to say that.
If you are listening to this and this sounds like right up your alley, and you trying to go out to Rosemont for these tryouts, we will drop a link in the show notes and have at it.
And send us your video maybe of what you're going to do. And we can, I want to see.
So last week we put out our naughty and nice list of 2025. We asked y'all to send us some of y'all suggestions, and at least one person took us seriously and reached out with somebody to put on their nice list.
Hey guys, my name is Kelly and I am from the Lincoln Square neighborhood. I just wanted to shout out somebody for the nice list in Chicago this year are the 3 Good Samaritans who have throughout the year reached out to me via various social media platforms that have found my wallet or driver's license after nights that, you know, they just fell out of my pocket and I had no idea. And I wake up to messages on Instagram and Facebook and emails saying, hey, Kelly, I believe I found your wallet. And they don't take anything out of them and they make sure that I get that back safely. So those people go out to my nice list for Chicago, and it just reminds me of what a lovely city we live in, that they always seem to return my wallet. Thanks, guys. Love listening to the podcast.
Somebody found my phone earlier this year, so I dropped it on the walk and were really good about meeting me back at the house. So that was nice. I appreciate that.
I have also had where I dropped a wallet, I'm pretty sure, like on a sidewalk or something, and someone mailed it back to me.
That's pretty nice.
And the stationery came from like a retirement home that's on my block. And so the only unfortunate thing was I already went and replaced my ID, but then I just ended up with 2 copies of my ID. So not so bad. Yeah, I love this. I think an excellent add to the nice list. And I am also pleased that Chicagoans generally out here returning things. Although, Kelly, I am a little worried that you lost your wallet and or driver's license 3 times this year. I am a little alarmed. That seems like a lot.
I've already misplaced a driver's license, which I'm pretty sure is in a coat pocket somewhere.
I think you're allergic to driver's licenses,
yeah.
Jacoby. They repel off of you, as far as I can tell. They just like avoid your person.
I put a chain wallet in my family's Secret Santa on my wish list. I put a chain wallet, mostly because they in fashion, but also because it would be nice to have it actually attached to my person.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the crossbody bag. I don't know what it is, but we should work on that. Jacoby, as we think back to our naughty and nice list, which had a mix of folks on it. Any honorable mentions we didn't get to in that episode?
I will say one group I want to put on my naughty list is whoever the hell keeps buying and selling the movie theater in 87th Street, Cinema Chatham.
Huh.
Like, since we started this podcast, I feel like we've discussed its closing and reopening at least 2 times a piece. And so now it's back up for auction. I just saw a piece from the homie Atavia Reed writing about this. Starting bid is $350,000. That was my childhood theater, and it sucks to see it kind of going back and forth.
Well, on the South Side, doesn't have many or any theaters.
There's
right?
Ford City, and then there's Harper Theater, and then they just reopened the South Loop. But yeah, 87th was the one further south before you got to go to the burbs.
That's a pretty good one. I'd agree with that. We had when we were doing that episode, we had some folks who we sort of wanted to pose it as a question. So, Jacoby, I'm curious what you think. One of the folks that I had that I was sort of not sure maybe belongs on the naughty list, 4th Congressional District Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia. He was certainly on Congressional Democrats' naughty list for engaging in the age-old practice of trying to anoint his successor. I was really shocked that this managed to elevate to a congressional sanction for this kind of thing. Because this kind of thing's been going on in Chicago like a long time. It's like a very regular thing.
Yeah, so he had filed to run for re-election to represent the district on October 27th, later announcing that he would retire. The announcement came after the November 3rd filing deadline had passed, which ensured his chief of staff, Patty Garcia, would be the only Democrat on the primary ballot in the race to succeed him. All right. So on the one hand,
That's shady.
Clearly shady. But I will say, thinking about this nearly 70-year-old politician who has come up through so many different ranks, who at the time he was running to be a alder in the city of Chicago, like the representation for Mexican Americans in this city, the representation for Latin Americans and Hispanics in this city has been absolutely ass. And at a point in which the demographic shifts in our city over the last decades have taken place, the type of political power that he and his colleagues have been able to gain, for him to have gotten to a point in his life where he's able to make such a political move to set up his successor feels in some ways, especially in sort of him being a Chicago politician, kind of feels like the cherry on the top of his own personal political story. Again, a shady move on its face. But I think for his own political narrative, from the days of campaigning next to Harold Washington to now, it feels like a distinctly Chicago elder statesman move. And the fact that he has been able to do what so many other Chicago politicians, black and white, have been able to pull off, it kind of feels politically poetic.
It was sort of tough to me to sort of be like, of all the naughty people in Chicago this year, this one didn't quite like rise for me. And again, I there's a part of me that's like, that's clearly my own cynicism and my own I've clearly been watching Chicago politics too long. I will be interested to see at least a couple independents who have emerged who want to challenge Patty Garcia, no relation to Chewy, on the left. I will be really curious to see kind of how that plays out, and if they manage to kind of use this, if this is like politically salient. By the time November rolls around, they're running as independents, so they won't be on the primary. So this will be an actual November race that could be interesting. So yeah, we'll definitely be curious about it. One other person who was sort of like, should we add him to the list? Mostly because I completely forgot that former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan was convicted this year on corruption charges.
Currently serving a 7.5-year sentence at a minimum security Fed prison in West Virginia.
And seeking a pardon. Yeah, Madigan convicted on various corruption charges, once the most powerful man in Illinois, one of the most powerful Democrats in the country, longest serving, I think, state House Speaker in the country, just really was the man to get things done in Illinois and in Chicago specifically, a seat of power on the Southwest side there. Yes, he was convicted in February in a trial that went on, like that trial lasted, it was like 4 months or something. It was really long. It was like November to February, I think. However, he hasn't been in power since 2021, right? 2020,
yep.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
And so like all of the stuff he would sort of be on the naughty list for happened well before 2025. And so we were like, well, can we really put him on the naughty list?
But the fact that both Mike Madigan and Ed Burke's long storied, at times racist political careers have them at the mercy of begging Donald Trump, of all people, for a pardon, like a convicted felon racist in his own right. That, like, I don't know. It's something deeply hilarious about that. Deeply hilarious about, again, these are people who amass tens of millions of dollars and wielded a lot of political power for decades. I don't think either of them ever imagined that they would have to
that the ring they'd have to kiss would be this ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something deeply hilarious about that.
And then the last one, this is a potential nice contender that we were, mostly it's the timing of it. We're just might be a little premature, but Ben Johnson and the Bears actually giving something for Bears fans to get excited about this season.
We got to separate the front office from on the field, because on the field, nice as hell. They just put 31 points up in less than 10-degree weather. Caleb Williams was slinging that pill through the frost, and they are well positioned to make the playoffs for the first time in a few years. They are well positioned to win the division, and dare I say, win a playoff game for the first time in a decade plus. And so, for a second-year quarterback, first-year head coach to be at the helm of that with, something that I grew up with, a good Bears running game and a Bears defense that thrives on takeaways. That is nice. That is beautiful, amazing. The fact that we know, Simone, all of this love, all of this belief is going to ultimately be leveraged against us for more incentives and tax dollars.
We don't have to talk about that yet.
Because that's why the organization remains on the naughty list, because that is happening in the background of this entire saga.
I understand that.
And remember, they announced early in 2025 they were all in for Chicago. And by the time we get to the end of the year, all in on
Arlington Heights. Sure. I hear you. But that's why the entry, and this is why we couldn't put the Bears as an organization on the entry. It was be that dynamic. But I still think, I would still posit that Ben Johnson, the person, the coach of the Bears, could be on the nice list. Both obviously the work he has done, bringing this team to making to what it has become. I don't know that much about what's going on in the various coaching, tree of coaches that, underlie him, but I have to imagine
10 wins. That's all that matters.
As 10 wins. And also he's been out, with the Wiener Circle and you know what I mean? Glad handing it up with the rest of Chicago to celebrate
people
with
buying
us.
into his little quirks and his team song. Winning really fixes everything. It makes everything better.
We'll ignore a lot if you're winning.
Yeah, it makes a lot of things better. And I hope that we can finish this week with another win on Saturday. Against the Packers. I don't know. There's a small chance we could see them one more time after that game. Who knows? I'm just gonna ride the high that is December Bears football that matters. Before we get out of here, we do got some late entrants to our nice list, and that is people who signed up to become neighbors over the last couple of weeks. Shout out to Heather B, Carissa F, Desiree S, Heather D, Amanda C, Sharon K, Dominique M. And Simone, what did Jordan E have to say?
Yeah, Jordan E joined during our membership campaign. Of course, you can join all of them at membership.citycast.fm. We're not plugging. I'm just letting you know that's where it is. Jordan E says, CityCast Chicago makes me feel connected while opening new doors and opportunities to support the city I care so deeply for. Aside from the whimsy and love for Chicago, I've made a habit to include an air trumpet ensemble during the opening jingle every morning while I'm getting ready, and I always smile back at myself in the mirror. It's the little things, Jordan, I absolutely agree. You should see us do our little air horns when Sam Thousand is, there it is.
Best part.
And then
oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It gets us up every day as well. So I'm glad you thought it was worth becoming a member. And again, thanks to everyone who joined during our membership campaign. One more time, you can join them. Membership.citycast.fm. But thank you.
And one more time for our executive producer, Simone Alisea. I appreciate you making time, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
One more thing before we close the door. Some good news. Shout out to all of the winners of the Chicago Review of Books Annual Literary Awards, aka the Chirby Awards. Rob Colgate, WBEZ's Adriana Cardona Magigad, Samir Ahmed, Theodore C. Van Osh Jr., and the homie Eve L. Ewing. The Independent Local Awards recognize the best fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and essays published by Chicago area authors. Please, y'all, pick up their work. Eve Ewing's original Sins, The Miseducation of Black and Native Children in the Construction of American Racism, was my absolute favorite and most heartbreaking and frustrating read of 2025. As always, we appreciate you for making time. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. In the meantime, in between time, please vote CityCast Chicago as the best podcast and best email newsletter for the Chicago Readers Best of 2025. We appreciate and love y'all. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.